So here we are once again, second night in a row, covering the G1 Climax 33 tournament. Hi, I'm MrWarrenHayes and welcome. This is part of my ongoing coverage. Like I said, second night in a row, because we just finished up night 2. Well, at least I finished up watching night 2. So I'm here to give you a recap, some results, little review along the side, talk about how things are going so far. It's still very early in the tournament, but we can't really start talking about patterns or whatnot, but we can definitely observe things. We can start chatting about things. But hey, I want to thank you for watching. If you're watching this on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, wherever it is that you're deciding to give it the old try and jump into the G1 with me, I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. As I mentioned yesterday on the initial review, just to make sure that it's clear in case that this is the first, maybe you missed yesterday's and you're like, oh, night 2, let's go see what happened on night 2. These are not spoiler free. We're absolutely talking results. We're talking about things that are happening. So, if there are many other places that you can get these results from, these reviews, or without. Well, I don't know how you can do reviews without giving spoilers away, but at the very least, results, recommendations. There are other places to do that. But no, we're a full-on spoiler show here. But I will be giving you recommendations at the end of every show, just like I did yesterday. There were 3 yesterday. How many am I going to recommend today? Well, you're going to have to stick around to find out. I'm not giving that one away just yet. But let's start by talking about the results for the first night of action for blocks C and D. In block C, we had Dave Finlay defeating Tomohiro Ishii. We had Mikey Nicholls defeating Henare. We're going to touch on that in a little bit, of course. Eddie Kingston defeated Shingo Takagi. And Evil got the best of Tama Tonga. As far as block D goes, we had Hirooki Goto defeating Toru Yano. Shane Haste defeating Alex Coughlin. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Tanahashi. First name Hiroshi. And Jeff Cobb defeated Tetsuya Naito in the main event of night 2, which is not insignificant. But we're gonna start breaking this down. Let's just get right to it. One of the things that I strive to do here with these reviews, with these little shows here, is not waste your time. Now, I have a propensity to talk quite a bit. That's part of my, it's part of my charm. But as it stands for me, right now, what I want to do is I want to try and keep these as bite-sized as possible. Try to hit it around the 30-minute mark, so that you can listen, get a grasp of what's going on, then hit the bricks and go watch whatever you want to watch. Maybe follow my recommendations or not. But yeah, so that's why I'm like, let's just get right into it. And you see, I'm still stalling nonetheless. I'll never learn. The night 1 started off with we're gonna break down C block to begin with. Started off with David Finlay defeating Tomohiro Ishii. C block, of course, is the ass kicker block, or at least that's how I've christened it. Because that's what you have. You have all brawlers, ass kickers, beat down guys. They're all in here. This is the one, if you like people just slapping the shit out of each other, this is the one that's going to deliver, and it did deliver on that level, as did David Finlay versus Ishii. And this starts off great with Ishii pummeling Finlay, but Finlay starts going for the legs. We get a power slam, and Ishii is just pummeling and battering Dave Finlay throughout this match. But like I said, our boy Dave here tries to focus on the leg, uses an Irish curse and an Indian deathlock to try and get the best of Ishii here. But Ishii powers up. He starts no-selling kicks to his knee. That's how powered up he gets. We get a superplex as well, a dominator by Finlay. as we enter the final stretch. They slug it out, some headbutts. Fantastic headbutt by Ishii in here as well. At the 5 minute mark, Finlay he's just eating a complete beating, a lariat, but he lifts Ishii into an over the shoulder gutbuster, and then the into oblivion, aka the trash panda, gets the win. So Finlay gets his first 2 points of the tournament. So look, I like this a lot. I like this one a lot. And, ass kicker block starts off with an ass kicking. Strong, well done, and important to establish that Finlay belongs here and that he is what he says he is. So it was good. It was strong. It was brutal. I loved it. Thought it was a great way to kick off. And as opposed to the previous night, we broke the pattern a little bit. If you want to call it a pattern. Is it a pattern when you have just 2 nights consecutively? Not really. But already, if you were looking for a pattern, it's been broken. This was the second longest match of the night at just shy of 16 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, just shy of 16 minutes here. The only longer match would be the only match longer than this one. Well, no, actually, there's 2 matches longer than this one. So it's the third longest match of the night, kicking it off, which is a little unusual for New Japan. So, as I said, when I was previewing this on the podcast, unpredictability. That's the theme of the whole scenario here. I thought Finlay looked very good. I thought Finlay looked really good. It'll be interesting to see how he goes moving forward. Of course, it's hard to not have a good match with Tomohiro Ishii. That's something that is, it's written in blood at this point. It's something that is just a constant in nature. You cannot not have a good match with Tomohiro Ishii. So this was absolutely part of it. They had some history as well. This was good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it kicked off very, very strongly as opposed to last night where we sort of had to ease into it. This one came out swinging, and we, the fans, were the winners. Continuing on with C Block, we had Aaron Henare taking on Mikey Nicholls, but we don't call him Aaron Henare anymore because, I mentioned it yesterday, be sure to keep an eye on Henare today. That mask that he was wearing at the, press conference to cover his face was not just to look like a thug. He was sporting facial tattoos, a mata ora, which are traditional facial markings of Polynesian families. I'm not going to pretend that I'm very well versed in this. I listened to Chris Charlton like pretty much all of you. I read what was written up over on New Japan, on the New Japan website, just like a lot of you as well. So I'm like I said, I'm not going to pretend that I know all the intricacies and the significance of it outside of what was told, what we've been taught. But the point is that we have been taught, and I think mission accomplished on that point. And I think it's pretty cool. He's the first person, the first Maori in all of pro sports to have a mata ora. And I think that, and apparently it is a big deal because there's even other media that's been doing write-ups on this. So if Henare wanted to get attention, and make sure that if he wanted to create some, he wanted to get attention on this and the plight of his people and reference his indigenous roots. Well, mission accomplished. I think it changes him. I'm not gonna lie, I like them more than the mustache he had, and I feel like he's coming back closer to the gimmick, I guess you'd call it. Although I want to refrain from calling it a true to form gimmick because there is thought and authenticity being put into this. So it's not, this isn't a Tatanka deal, right? There is like legitimacy to what he's doing. So, I don't want to call this necessarily a gimmick, but what he was previous to joining the United Empire, I feel we're getting a little more closer to that. Feels a little more savage, feels a little more brutal, as opposed to coming across more like a killer, like a hitman in the United Empire. You can already feel like there's a change here. And he's simply calling himself Henare again. We're dumping the Aaron. We're back to Henare anyway. All of that aside, which was very cool, he still ended up losing his match in a rather stiff match that ended very strangely. That ended very poorly, I should say. Let's not mince words here. There wasn't anything strange about it. It was just a poor finish. They're going at it. They're striking each other. He and Nicholls and Mikey Nicholls, they trade headbutts at some point, and that busts Nicholls open. And he's bleeding from the forehead. That was looking good. There's some back and forth, and we get the justice knee, if I'm not mistaken, from Henare. Nicholls fights back and lands a new move, a little out of nowhere, called the Master Blaster. But he lands Henare straight on his head in a fucking gross move. You thought the Tiger Driver 91 was bad. This is bad. This one was truly bad because he landed on his fucking head, on his crown. That was not good. To the point that he didn't roll out of the ring. He had attendants coming in. It took him a while to get up and walk around. He did walk back with some assistance, of course, but he did walk back, so that's good news. During the show, Chris Carlton was sending him text messages and he was responding back. So again, all good news. If he's responsive, he's aware. This is all good. If the worst thing that comes out of here is that he got his bell rung, that's fantastic. But Aaron Henare has had neck injury in the past. He's had surgery on it. This fucking sucks. If this keeps him out of the tournament. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is Nicholls' this is the first time he pulls the move out. And he ends up injuring a guy. And I don't think it's a work. It didn't look like a work. No one was acting really like it was a work. I wouldn't think so. But, for all the attention that was brought to him with his Mata-ora, it's a shame that not only he loses the match, but that he gets hurt, and there is a bit of a cloud over this now. There's always from like right now, we can't just sit here and specifically talk about Henare's change and the significance of what he's doing. There is a cloud over this that preempts anything else, any real discussion you want to have. Whereas, is he okay? Will he be able to progress? Hopefully, we will not get the black and white lion logo on Twitter announcing that he has to forfeit. That would fucking suck. Overall, I thought this match was fine, though. I thought it was, it was pretty stiff. Big old scrapper. It's an awful spot that ended this match. But up until that point, I thought they were having a good old scrapper, and Nicholls gets his first two. I wouldn't be surprised that it's maybe some of his last, because and I understand the sentiment of why would you not put Henare over then, right? I understand that sentiment because he's coming in with his new look and whatnot. You want to get that over. I completely get it, but at the same time, maybe mathematically throughout the tournament, this is where it makes the most sense for Nicholls to get his 2 points. I mean, there's other considerations that we are not seeing right now. That probably makes sense that he gets his 2 points here. Should it have been on Henare or someone else? Again, there are probably considerations in the tournament and, booking moving forward that that will make sense once we're able to look back at this. I wouldn't bury this at all. I'm not, you can't. I don't think you can really sit here and bury this decision until we see the outcome. Now, if Henare only wins, 1 or 2, then maybe we can look back on this and yeah, you know what, this was a little weird, but we'll see what happens. Because there's more than likely a reason why Nicholls had to win tonight. Then we're back continuing on C block, of course, where Eddie Kingston in his debut defeated Shingo Takagi. And this started up nice and fired up, and it was just hard, right? It's just Eddie and Shingo laying into each other, throwing bombs, then going to the floor. We're getting the kibashi chops. We're Takagi striking. We're getting exploder suplexes and superplexes. They're just going full King's Road on this one, right? Like Eddie comes up to Shingo and he says, "Can we have a Noah style match?" Shingo, Takagi-san. Takagi's like, "Of course." And they're just wailing on each other, much to Eddie's delight, I am sure, right? Shingo lands the Northern Lights bomb, which is, of course, Eddie Kingston's finisher. Eddie kicks out at 1 because he doesn't like that. They trade more strikes, and Eddie eventually does win with the Northern Lights bomb. Good old-fashioned 90s Japanese wrestling fight is what this was. Not people dropping each other on their necks, just having a fight. Shingo, great as usual. And, I hate using the word dependable when it comes to Shingo. Maybe that because dependable then can veer a wrestler's path into something that they might not necessarily like. But, Shingo was because he's consistent and he's great. And he's really a notch above still tons of guys on this roster. Even the young, especially the young guys, maybe I mentioned briefly when I previewed this on the podcast, Shingo was, he's not going to have a successful G1 in the sense that his points are not going to be enormous. I don't think, because there's nothing going on with him. He's not a champion. He's, currently he's easily the 4th guy in LIJ right now, behind Naito, Hiromu, and Tsuji, right? Like he's clearly the 4th guy right now. So unless they're protecting him right now and protecting the matches he can have to have some fresh matches in 2024 post Wrestle Kingdom, which is absolutely a possibility. Well, we'll see what happens there. But this rule, and him losing is not that big a deal. But there is going to be a point where Shingo Takagi is going to stop feeling like a big deal unless you turn him into a big deal as well. We'll keep an eye on old Shingo because look, I've always been clear on this. I have Shingo bias. I love Shingo. I think he's fantastic. Eddie was great here too. He had to come out and have a good first one, and he had a very, very, very good. He had a great first one. This match ruled. I enjoyed it a great deal. And like I said, Eddie needs opponents that will, that have the same fire as him, that they will be able to light the fuse on each other, and that's what we got here in Shingo. I was convinced that he was going to be able to have the match that he wants because of how Shingo is. So this ruled. This was fantastic. And then the final C block match of the night was Evil getting the win over Tama Tonga. You know what? I ended up liking this more than I thought because there was some good wrestling. There was an interesting story being told here, but they're still House of Torture nonsense, and we're gonna have to put up with it. This is always the thing, but at least as opposed to when you have Evil and fucking Yujiro in this tournament, now you only have Evil. So there's really only one block that we have to suffer through this nonsense, right? But no, there was some good work in here. There's some shtick with Dick Togo, of course. They fight up on the ramp as well. They even, they go into the audience early on. Evil tries to get the count out win. Then they fight up the ramp, and Tonga, well, he does what he does best in his babyface persona. He takes a licking, then does his big comeback spot. Get some fighting spirit, he being Tonga, lands a gun stun on Dick Togo, and a Bloody Sunday on Evil. We have 3 minutes left. This went very long. And I'm not going to lie, the first 5 minutes of this match, when I heard the 5-minute announcement, I'm like, Christ, this felt like 10. I was not into it, but I got more into it. I'm not saying this is great, but I like this more than I thought I would. But the ending was shit. This was like the second or third ref bump. You sort of lose count at some point. Low blow by Evil. Everything is Evil. He gets the win. It's what it is at this point. I enjoyed it more, but I will say this, even with the 20-minute cap, these Evil matches feel long. But we got to be thankful for what we have, that these 20-minute time limits are going to restrict a lot of nonsense and have things go longer than they should. I think this whole match did, but I didn't hate it as much. I didn't hate it as much as I'm letting on, but I still have, heavy criticisms about it. It's House of Torture. What are you going to do? But look, it's there. It happened. I thought Tonga, I know a lot of people are really hard on Tonga, and I do think there's something that's missing right now, a jolt, something to make him really interesting. But I still find his babyface persona to be compelling. I think it works with the audience. I think the Japanese audience really like him. I feel they like him more than Sonata. So there's something right going on there, if you ask me. That was the recap for C Block. Let's talk about D Block. First match of the night was Hirooki Goto defeating Toru Yano. I mean, you knew exactly what was going to happen here. And, Yano and Goto have history in these G1s. This was actually, I believe this was their longest match, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, and please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but at 6 minutes 44 seconds, I believe this is the longest Yano Goto match. Toru Yano comes to the ring with Tomu-kun, who is the mascot of the city of Noboribetsu in Hokkaido. He is an Oni, a devil. I know shit. You think I sit here just looking pretty? Spouting off words? Stuttering throughout? No. I know shit. Especially when it comes to mascots. The mascot game in Japan is unparalleled. No one in the world does it better than them. No one. I'm sorry to say, United States. I'm sorry to say, Canada. I'm sorry to say, France. I'm sorry to say, Germany, Britain, Uzbekistan, Liechtenstein. Japan owns you all when it comes to the mascot game. And so, of course, you're thinking one of two things. Who is under the mascot, or how are they going to use the mascot? So, but turns out it was, look, they go under the ring with the mascot, all three of them. And then Yano comes out, and then Goto eventually comes out with the mascot's head. And there was, it's the ha-has, it's the goofies. A GTR gets the win, and the mascot is not really involved in here outside of looking cool. Goto gets his first two. I got nothing here. There's no real analysis here to provide. Next D-Block match was Shane Haste defeating Alex Coughlin. Coughlin is on the attack early on, and he does an over-the-head belly-to-belly on the floor. And a deadlift gut wrench superplex. I love me a good gut wrench suplex, but he's up on the second rope, dragging Shane Haste in. Fantastic shit. And, Coughlin here, Haste strikes, and Coughlin just lands power move after power move after power move. And then Coughlin, towards the end of the match, for some inexplicable reason, starts throwing chairs into the ring. And then he gets the open belt. He gives, the ref takes it away from him. He shoves the ref. I guess the plan was to distract the ref with the belt so that he could use the chairs on Shane Haste. But Shane Haste got the better of him. And he he slams Coughlin on the chairs and then does a choke slam from a fireman's carry gimmick thing, I think. Look, Hayes got the win here, to a little bit of surprise. This was fine, right? But it was pretty much there. Like, I don't think there was anything particularly exciting about this match. And Alex Coughlin is going to have to show the rage that he showed at the press conference on Friday. I'm sure many of you have seen it. If you have not, go out of your way to see it. It's free. It's on New Japan World. It's all over the place. But go out of your way to look at and listen, most specifically, to Alex Coughlin's fantastic promo about how, about all the sacrifices that he made for New Japan, specifically naming people in his family who died, that he didn't go to the funerals to. The usual rigmarole that you hear a lot from wrestlers. You train, you miss funerals, you miss birthdays. But here, the way Coughlin was delivering it, the way he was talking about it, it felt sincere, it felt real, because there were names here. It's not just throwing funerals. It says, no, my uncle and so on. He died. And I wasn't there. And then he tells the story about how he wanted the New Japan merch people to send his t-shirt to his parents, to his mom and dad, to his family anyway, to say, look, thank you for putting up with me. And they said no. And he outright said something to the effect, how can you not spare $20 worth of materials to send to my family when you all have Sasha Banks money? And I thought that was a great fucking line. I'm paraphrasing, but that was not the exact quote, but it was a great line. So that bitterness, that anger is what fueled him to join Bullet Club, the War Dogs. But the problem that I have here is that whatever energy he had on Friday didn't carry here. I didn't feel it. Even the energy after he and Gabe Kidd won the strong belts wasn't here either. So our boy Alex is going to have to turn it up. In fact, both of the War Dogs are going to have to as well. Again, just like I said with in regards to Henare, there might be mathematical reasons that we're not seeing right now as to why the War Dogs are losing. But I will agree that it does come across strange that the War Dogs are losing when they're supposed to be these brutal savages. Maybe this is just what they need to turn it up a notch. Maybe Shane Haste needed his 2 points. I can't tell you. Let's revisit this maybe towards the end when it all starts to make sense. Next D-block match is Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Zack Sabre Jr. I thought this was pretty good. And ultimately what I expected out of these two guys. Because look, Sabre and Tana have wrestled multiple times in the past. This was not their first rodeo. This was not the first time that they connected. But I thought that this was not one of their best. There's much better. There are much better Zack Tana matches out there. But every time Tanahashi tries to play the ground game, and this is what I thought they were going to do, because my theory still stands that, and I think even commentary talking about it today, that this might be Tanahashi's last real G1, like one where he's not just there to be filler, where he's in a competitive mode. Like this might be one of his last, if not the last. I know we've been saying this for years, but I feel like this year it's been especially glaring. He's not as mobile. He can't move around as much. This is not news to anyone. So I'm not surprised here that he and Zack go at it. More focused on a ground game, more focused on grappling and trying to get the best out of each other on the mat using submission skills, which is not something that Tanahashi typically does, but who is nonetheless very well versed in. I kind of popped when he was doing dragon screw arm whips, as Kevin Kelly called them, working the arm because he wanted to get an arm bar in, because ultimately that's what happened at the end. Tanahashi locks in an arm bar, a guillotine-like arm bar, not unlike what Zack Sabre Jr. would do, but Jr. rolls him over, gets him into a pinning position. Tanahashi doesn't release the move, so Zack gets the win. So, I thought this was good stuff, but maybe a little smoke and mirror-y, if that makes sense. Because I think the more things progress, the more things move on, we are going to see Hiroshi Tanahashi being protected. I thought this was pretty good. It was an entertaining moment of wrestling. I liked it. It was different from anything else on the show. It certainly was a contrast to the big hitters of C Block. And then the main event was Tetsuya Naito and Jeff Cobb, where Jeff Cobb got the win. This heads to the floor early. No surprise in New Japan matches, but there's a lot of them that are breaking that trope too. Cobb counters a combination cabron, should say, early on, and he lands a standing drop kick. He does all sorts of showboating in this match, and does a stalling vertical suplex as well. Like we've got monster Jeff Cobb on our hands in this one here. Confident, cocky, monster Jeff Cobb. And it takes a while for Naito to get the upper hand. He has to go a little rudo. He has to go back to his rudo roots here, and has to tug at the hair of Cobb to be able to finally chain some offense together. And Cobb starts planting Naito again. After he gets out of the leg full Nelson, and there's some counters, and Naito is sloppy towards the end. In the final stretch of this match, he's missing stuff, and he's sloppy. There's no other way to put it, which really did hamper my enjoyment of this match, because I think if our boy Naito had been a little crisper, I think I'd be a little higher on this match. But this was a very good performance of Jeff Cobb, who lands toward the islands for the win and gets his first 2 points of the tournament. Look, I thought the match had a lot of personality. I thought it had a lot of energy, and it had just enough what if. I think everyone did have Naito in the back of their mind. I did. As like, okay, well, he's probably going to win this. But as I talked about again in my preview, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, if the target, right? If the target is to get Naito to have his Wrestle Kingdom World Championship main event moment in the Tokyo Dome, if that's what the target is, he needs to, he needs to, at the very least, qualify for the playoffs. He needs to at least be the runner-up of the block to qualify in the playoffs. And it's something that a lot of Naito fans, including myself, have been wanting for a while, and that we feel cheated out of. Goto's been fucking with us for a few years at this point. Why wouldn't you use that and have Naito lose a couple of matches, lose the opening one? And I said this might happen, that Naito might lose his first match and then have this, I have to fight and scrap to stay alive in this tournament, to get to the playoffs. And I entirely see that is still a possibility. I still see it as being a thing if that's the plan. If the plan is to get Naito at Wrestle Kingdom with Sanada in the Dome. And we're going to have to do something about Sanada because on his strength all about himself is not going to be able to draw. You put Tetsuya Naito in the main event, that's something different. That's different. That'll help put some butts in the seats, quote unquote. So we'll have to see. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that this is not necessarily the sign of a rocket pack being strapped to Jeff Cobb. This could still absolutely be Tetsuya Naito having to be the underdog and keep his fan base on their, on the edge of their seats till the very end, until he gets the moment he wants next January. It's still possible. But anyway, I didn't think this match was anything really special. There you have it. So that's the breakdown so far. As it comes to recommendations, I think there's only really one match that I should say, and it's not even one where it's like you absolutely have to see this match, kind of thing. It's more like, make some time if you can and go watch Eddie Kingston versus Shingo Takagi, and you won't be bored. I think it's a very, very, very good 90s style Japanese wrestling match. Kingston in his element, Shingo feeding him. It was really very, very, very good. Great is what I'd call it. That would be my only recommendation. I think everything else is skippable. I enjoyed night 1 more than night 2 so far. I feel, and here's the thing, is that I find that there were less egregious matches on night 2 than there were on night 1. The Kenta Tongaloa match, that was just bad. There's nothing out right here that I'd say this was bad. The closest I'd say was Shane Haste versus Alex Coughlin, because I felt it was dry and a little dead. I thought the work was fine. I wouldn't call it bad. I'd just say, all right. But should we settle for all right during the G1? That's another discussion that I'll have for another time because I'm going longer than what I wanted to do. Let's talk about the what's happening tomorrow night on New Japan Pro Wrestling's G1 class, G1. Not tomorrow night, right? We're going to July 18 is when we're coming back. What are you talking about, Warren? We're back to A block and B block action. For the A block, we're going to have Kaito Kiyomiya versus Chase Owens. I don't think there's any way Kiyomiya's losing to Chase Owens, not after defeating the Chad Sota Yuji. And I don't think that Noah Brass would really appreciate it either. Because don't forget, look, the story that they're telling right now with Kiyomiya is that, he was shit upon by everyone, right? And even commentary on night 1 was saying, the talent in New Japan, there's such a talent gap between New Japan and Noah, right? And Kiyomiya comes in, beats one of the guys that is unquestionably being underscored as the future of the company. Do you think he's going to lose to Chase Owens? Let's be real now. And we're going to have Hikuleo versus Gabe Kidd. This will be a good opportunity for Gabe Kidd to show some killer instinct because Hikuleo, oh boy. Ren Narita taking on Yota Tsuji. So the Musketeer match of the night. I'm excited for this. Who's going to bounce back after their losses? I'm very excited to see how this is going to happen. Because look, it's going to go either two ways. It's like I said with Ren Narita. Are we going to go for withdraws for between all of the Musketeers? This is entirely a possibility, And then Sanada versus Shota Umino. Could possibly be a very big deal match. Could be one that has repercussions down the line. Block B, we've got Great Khan versus Kenta. I am not looking forward to that. Taichi versus Tongaloa. Taichi coming off of his big performance last night. Should be a lot of fun. Yoshihashi versus Will Ospreay. Do not sleep on this match. I know Yoshihashi is a meme, but do not sleep on this. This has the potential to rock. And the main event is going to be Okada versus El Fantasma, which again has the potential to rock. This has the potential to be one of these vaunted star-making performances for El Fantasma. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he beats Okada. Or maybe he does. Unpredictability. But the point is that he has to have a big-time win. He has to have a big-time win and get a big-time performance in. We're still young. It's still very young in the tournament. But I think once we're done on July 19, once we have the first 2 nights done for both blocks, for all 4 blocks, I should say. I'm not going to say we'll be able to see some patterns being developed, but we'll be able to dig a little more into, okay, what is going on? What do we got going here? What should we be looking out for? It'll be exciting. By the way, I forgot to mention something when I was talking about, and I made a note of it and I just saw it right here, and I forgot to mention it. Chris Charlton last night was in the mood to bury WWE, wasn't he? Right? When he was breaking down the history and the significance of Henare's Madaora, excuse me, when he was breaking that down, he said something to the effect of, those are for life, meaning the tattoos. This isn't just a cute tribal chief thing. And then he said something else about, like, he didn't say specifically, he didn't say the terms, the letters didn't come out of his mouth, WWE, but he referenced it somewhere else in the show. I can't remember. I was like, Jesus, Chris, coming out swinging. I'm okay with that. You guys know I love this kind of shit. Here we go. And I hope you guys, gals, and non-binary pals loved this recap of night 2 of the G1 Climax 33. I will be back on July 19th. So what, Tuesday? To break down night 3. So in the meantime, there'll be other stuff popping up on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show YouTube channel. So subscribe. But if you're here specifically for the Climax reviews, I guess I will be seeing you on Tuesday. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.